You, the one who looks fine to everyone else, the one who carries a whole universe of storms behind a quiet face, the one who has learned to smile at people while falling apart in private. Yes, Ubrim, the silent fighter who has walked through battles without anyone noticing the wounds. You see, most people think pain comes from life, from events, from circumstances, but you and I know better. There are two wars in this world, the one fought out there and the one fought right here, but inside your own mind, and the truth is brutal. The inner war is always the deadliest, because the outside world can only hit you once. But your own thoughts? They can hit you every hour, every minute, every second. If you don't learn how to stand your ground, you know what I mean. You can sit in a perfectly quiet room, with no threats, no enemies, no pressure, and still feel like you're drowning. The danger isn't around you, it's inside you. It's in the words you repeat to yourself. It's in the doubts that creep in at night. It's in the memories that replay without your permission. There are days when everything on the outside looks normal, but your mind has already dragged you into war. A single negative thought appears, tiny, harmless, and before you even understand what's happening, it spreads like wildfire. I'm not enough. I always ruin things. No one really cares. I'll never be good enough. It starts with one whisper, then another, and another, until suddenly you're drowning in stories that don't even belong to the real world, only to your fears. This is the trap. Your mind is powerful enough to create a reality that doesn't exist. But here's the part people forget. Your mind can also be taught, trained, disciplined, and strengthened. It can become your greatest enemy, yes, but it can also become your strongest weapon. That's where Stoicism enters your life, not as philosophy, not as quotes, not as something you read once and forget, but as a shield, as a sword, as armor built for the battles no one else sees. The ancient Stoics faced more darkness than we can imagine: exile, loss, war, betrayal, poverty, yet they survived with an unbreakable calm. Why? Because they understood something modern people still don't. You cannot control the world, but you can control the meaning you give to it. You can control your response. You can control your inner world. And once you control that, the outer world has nothing left to threaten you with. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind and not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Strength. Not the loud kind, not the type people show on social media, but the quiet, and the kind that helps you stand up again after your own thoughts try to bury you, the kind that lets you breathe even when your chest feels tight, the kind that whispers, "You'll get through this," even when everything feels heavy. You don't have to fix every thought. You don't have to erase negativity. You don't have to become emotionless. You simply have to learn something powerful. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And if you are the observer, that means you can choose which thoughts stay, choose which thoughts leave, choose which thoughts get to shape your identity. This video, this message, is not for people who want 5 minutes of good feelings. It's for warriors, for people who are tired of losing battles to their own mind, for the ones who are ready to stop being the victim of their thoughts and start becoming the master of them. You've carried heavy things alone for too long. This time, we're going to dissect them, understand them, and weaken them piece by piece. Not with force, not with denial, but with clarity, with calmness, with the ancient strength that kept kings and slaves alike mentally unshakable. In the next sections, we will walk through the mental traps that keep your thoughts dark, heavy, and toxic. We will break them open. We will expose them. We will take the weapons out of their hands, one truth at a time, one perspective at a time, one shift at a time. Before we go deeper, say this to yourself, whisper it if you have to. I'm stronger than my negative thoughts, because after today, you won't just survive your mind, you will control it. There's something you need to understand about your mind. Negative thoughts don't arrive as monsters. They arrive as whispers. Tiny, Subtle, almost harmless thoughts that slip through the cracks when you're tired. Stressed, lonely, or disappointed. They don't scream, they don't announce themselves, they simply begin. A small doubt, a quick memory, a fear that flickers for half a second, a question you didn't mean to ask yourself. What if I'm not enough? What if I mess this up? What if they don't care? What if I'm the problem? And because you're human, because you're emotional, because you have a heart, you don't ignore it, you entertain it. You think about it for a few seconds too long. You replay it, you analyze it, you start building a story around it, and suddenly, something that began as a passing thought turns into a storm that consumes your entire mind. You've lived this. We all have. One moment you're fine, and the next moment, you're spiraling into thoughts that weren't even real to begin with. The brain has a cruel talent. It takes a single, uncomfortable moment and expands it into a whole narrative that feels fatal, final and absolute. You didn't fail. Your mind says, you're a failure. Someone didn't reply. Your mind says nobody cares. You made a mistake. Your mind says you ruin everything. This is what the Stoics understood so deeply. The event is rarely the problem. It is the meaning you attach to it. There are people who have faced horrors, loss, betrayal, physical pain, and massive hardship, and they remain strong. And there are people who collapse under the weight of their own thoughts, even when life is relatively stable. Why? Because the mind, not the world, decides the intensity of your suffering. That is why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Meaning, if your mind keeps painting the world in darkness, you will start to believe that the world is dark, even if the sun is shining, even if good things are happening, even if people care about you, even if you've improved. The mind can blind you to your own progress. It can make you forget how far you've come. It can make one negative moment feel like your entire life. That's why learning to control your mind isn't optional. It's survival. Think of your thoughts like seeds, a single negative. Seed is harmless unless you water it with attention. If you focus on it, replay it, analyze it, give it energy, it grows roots. Then it becomes a tree. Then it becomes a forest. Then it becomes a cage, and many people are walking around trapped inside cages they built with their own thoughts. But here's the truth the Stoics mastered. You cannot stop negative thoughts from appearing, but you can stop them from staying. You can treat them the same way you treat a cloud passing across the sky. Acknowledge it, observe it, let it move, and don't build a home for it. Your mind loves to dramatize. It loves to jump to conclusions. It loves to exaggerate the worst-case scenario, but you are not obligated to believe everything your mind says. Imagine your mind as a storyteller that never stops talking. It creates scenarios, assumptions, conclusions, all based on your fears, your wounds, your past, your insecurities. But here's the part most people forget. You are not the story. You are the author. You can edit, you can rewrite, you can delete entire chapters that no longer fit the person you are becoming. The Stoic approach is brutally simple. Don't accept every thought as truth. Challenge it, investigate it, ask it questions. Force it to prove itself. Because when you examine a negative thought closely, you often find that it has no evidence, only emotion. Your fears are often fiction. Your doubts are often outdated. Your judgments are often emotional reactions, not objective reality. You have been carrying pain that didn't even belong to the real world, only to your imagination, and that's not your fault. It's the default wiring of the human brain. We're built to detect danger, anticipate problems, and prepare for the worst. But in the modern world, this survival mechanism turns inward and begins attacking you instead of protecting you. That is why Stoicism is so powerful today. It gives you tools to separate what's real from what's imagined. It teaches you to slow down, to pause, to observe, to breathe, to reclaim control from a mind that tries to run wild. It teaches you to say, this is just a thought, not a truth. This is an interpretation, not a fact. This is a moment, not a disaster. Negative thoughts are loud, but you can become louder, not with anger, not with force, but with awareness. Awareness weakens them, observation disarms them, distance destroys their power. You don't have to fight every thought, you simply have to stop feeding the ones that want to destroy you. And as we go deeper into this journey, you will learn how to reclaim your mind piece by piece until the storms inside you lose their strength and the quiet returns. Because the quiet is not the absence of thoughts, it is the mastery of them. There's a certain kind of heaviness you feel that has nothing to do with the world outside you. It's not your job. It's not your family. It's not your responsibilities. It's something deeper, something invisible, something ancient inside you. It's the weight of all the things you've never said, the weight of the emotions you swallowed years ago, the weight of the moments you blamed yourself for, the weight of the people you lost, missed, or disappointed, the weight of every secret battle you fought silently because no one would understand. You carry this weight in your shoulders, in your chest, in your breath. You carry it in the way you talk to yourself when nobody is listening. You carry it in the way you expect things to go wrong. You carry it in the way you prepare for heartbreak even before love appears. You carry it in the way you doubt every good moment because you're waiting for it to fall apart. People see your smile, they see your strength, they see your jokes, your calmness, your productivity, your discipline, but they don't see the nights you stayed awake thinking about something you said 3 years ago. They don't see how every mistake feels like a personal failure. They don't see how your mind can turn one small disappointment into a full psychological collapse. You've become so good at functioning that people assume you're fine. They think you're stable because you don't crash in public. They think you're okay because you're responsible. They think you're strong because you don't break down like others do. But strength isn't always pride. Sometimes it's pressure. Sometimes it's survival mode. Sometimes it's you being the stable one because no one else could be. And that's where Stoicism becomes a lifeline. Not because it teaches you to feel nothing, but because it teaches you to understand the weight you carry and detach from what isn't yours. The Stoics faced real chaos, war, exile, plagues, betrayal, hunger, loss. Yet they discovered a psychological truth that modern science confirms. Pain becomes suffering when you carry more than what belongs to you. Read that again. Pain. What happened? Suffering on what you continue to replay. Most of your suffering does not come from the event itself, but from the story your mind built on top of it. You broke up, yet you carry the belief, I'm unlovable. You failed once, yet you carry the belief, I will always fail. Someone hurt you, yet you carry the belief, everyone will hurt me. A loved one died, yet you carry guilt that was never yours to bear. The event ended, but the weight stayed because your mind picked it up and refused to put it down. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Do not carry what is not in your control. Do not carry what is not your responsibility. Do not carry what is no longer here. Marcus Aurelius wrote something brutally beautiful. You suffer only because you imagine yourself suffering. He wasn't dismissing your pain. He was revealing its source. He was saying that we extend our own suffering with replaying, rethinking, reimagining, and retelling the same painful story. The past is gone, but your mind keeps dragging it into the present like a ghost made of memory and fear. You cannot heal when your mind is loyal to old wounds. Stoicism teaches the emotional version of traveling light. You remove what no longer belongs. You empty the mental backpack full of stones you were never meant to carry. This is why the Stoics wrote so much. They weren't journaling to look wise. They were journaling to empty the mind, to take their nightmares, their fears, their insecurities, their regrets, and put them somewhere outside the mind so the heart could finally breathe. You need the same. Write down what hurts. Name what scares you. Expose what you're hiding from yourself, because anything you don't face becomes something you carry, and everything you carry becomes a voice in your mind. Here's the truth you've avoided. You don't need to fight your demons. You need to stop feeding them. A negative thought grows when you give it attention. A wound remains open when you keep touching it. A regret becomes heavier when you replay it at night. A fear becomes real when you repeat it in your head every morning. But once you step back and observe it with the calmness the Stoics practiced, you see the truth. Some of what you carry is real. Most of it is learned, and almost all of it is heavier in your mind than it is in reality. You've survived things that should have destroyed you. You've rebuilt yourself after things you thought you'd never recover from. You've grown quietly, slowly, painfully, but you grew. The world never clapped for you, but you kept going. That alone makes you extraordinary. So here is the Stoic truth this section leaves you with. You do not have to carry all of this. You do not have to hold everything together alone. You do not have to keep breaking in silence. You get to put the weight down. You get to breathe again. You get to live lighter. Your mind is strong, but it wasn't built to be a prison. It was built to be a guide. And soon, as we continue, you'll learn how to finally let go of the weight and walk with clarity instead of fear. There is a moment in every person's life when they sit alone and ask themselves a terrifying question. Why is my own mind doing this to me? Why does it create problems that don't exist? Why does it turn small mistakes into disasters? Why does it replay conversations like broken film? Why does it imagine worst-case scenarios before good ones? Why does it seem like your mind is trying to hurt you instead of protect you? But here's the truth that Stoicism and modern psychology agree on. Your mind is not against you. It is simply untrained. An untrained mind is like an untrained soldier. It panics, it overreacts, it misreads signals, it shoots at shadows, it attacks before understanding. It becomes dangerous because it was never taught discipline. A trained soldier, however, remains calm under fire. He does not shoot impulsively. He evaluates. He understands his environment. He takes only the necessary action, nothing more, nothing less. That is what the Stoics mastered. Not emotionlessness, emotional intelligence, not coldness, clarity, not suppression, control. The truth is, your mind has been absorbing noise, fear, comparison, judgment, trauma, and doubt for years. It was taught to survive, not to understand. It was taught to react, not respond. It was taught to protect you from danger, even when no danger exists. And so your mind fires warning shots into the darkness. It produces fear to keep you safe. It imagines rejection so you don't get hurt. It magnifies small problems so you take them seriously. It replays past trauma so you avoid repeating it. Your mind is not cruel, it's overprotective, but overprotection becomes imprisonment. Stoicism is the art of retraining that overprotective soldier into a wise guardian. The first retraining. Teach your mind to observe before it reacts. You've lived most of your life believing your thoughts are commands. I'm not enough. Must be true. They don't like me. Must be true. This will end badly. Must be true. But the Stoics taught something revolutionary. A thought is not a truth. It's a suggestion. When a negative thought appears, you don't need to obey it. You only need to notice it. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. When his mind whispered fear, he wrote it down. When it screamed insecurity, he questioned it. When it told him he was weak, he dissected it. That's why his writings sound so calm. He wasn't writing philosophy. He was training his mind. You must do the same. Next time a negative thought appears, don't wrestle with it. Don't argue with it. Don't panic. Just say, this is a thought, not a fact. That single sentence weakens the emotional power of the thought by 70%. Your brain moves from emotional mode to rational mode. You stop drowning in the wave and start observing it. The second retraining. Teach your mind to pause. The untrained mind reacts instantly. The trained mind pauses. The pause is your superpower. In that pause, You choose wisdom over impulse. Your friend didn't reply. Your mind screams, they're ignoring you. Pause. Your partner seems distant. Your mind says, they don't love you anymore. Pause. You failed at something. Your mind says, you're a failure. Pause. In that pause, something magical happens. Emotion loses its authority. Logic comes online, you gain control. This is what the Stoics meant by discipline, not discipline of behavior, discipline of perception. Learning to see clearly. The third retraining. Give your mind better fooder. Mind fed with chaos will produce chaos. Mind fed with comparison will produce insecurity. Mind fed with drama will produce fear. Mind fed with distractions will produce confusion. Your inner dialogue is a reflection of the environment you expose yourself to. This is why the Stoics lived simply few possessions, few people, few distractions, not because they were minimalists, but because they were mental protectors. You cannot heal a loud mind in a loud environment. If your room is messy, your thoughts will be messy. If your social media is toxic, your identity will be toxic. If your friendships are chaotic, your inner voice will be chaotic. Change what you consume, and your mind changes with it. The fourth retraining. Separate pain from identity. An untrained mind does this. I failed. I'm a failure. I was rejected. I'm unlovable. I made a mistake. I always ruin things. This is identity fusion, the worst mental trap of all. The Stoics taught you to separate the event from your identity. What happened is not who you are. You failed. Good, now you are wiser. You were rejected. Good, now you are redirected. You made a mistake. Good, now you are more experienced. Nothing that happened to you defines you. Only what you choose next defines you. Your mind must be trained to understand this difference, or else every wound becomes a personality. The final retraining. Teach your mind to return to the present negative. Thinking is almost never about now. It is about the past. You shouldn't have done that. You ruined everything, or the future. What if this goes wrong? What if they leave? What if you fail again? Meanwhile, the present moment is peaceful. You're breathing, you're safe, you're reading. Nothing is attacking you. Stoicism is ultimately the practice of presence. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, the present moment is enough, because in the present moment, the past cannot hurt you, the future cannot scare you. Your mind becomes quiet, clarity returns, decisions become simple. Your mind must be trained to stay here, not there. Not then, but here. The truth you must now accept. You were never weak. You were never broken. You were never flawed. You were simply untrained. And the untrained mind will always sound like the enemy until you teach it how to think, how to observe, how to rest, how to focus, how to let go. But once you begin this mental training, slowly, patiently, consistently, your mind transforms from a battlefield into a companion, from a threat into a teacher, from a storm into a sky. And the thoughts that once controlled you will become thoughts you simply watch drift by. This is the beginning of inner mastery. This is the beginning of peace. This is the beginning of your transformation. There is a type of suffering that never makes a sound. It doesn't scream, it doesn't bleed, it doesn't leave physical marks, but it destroys people from the inside. It's the suffering that comes from unspoken thoughts. Thoughts that stay locked inside your skull because you're afraid of being judged, misunderstood, or dismissed. Thoughts that echo in the dark because you've convinced yourself no one will understand. Thoughts that build walls between you and the world. This is where negative thinking becomes dangerous, when it grows in silence, when you don't express what hurts. The pain mutates, it becomes shame. Shame becomes overthinking. Overthinking becomes fear. Fear becomes paralysis, and paralysis becomes a lifestyle. You stop taking risks because your mind always gives you the worst case scenario. You stop being honest because you fear losing people. You stop dreaming because you assume you'll fail. You stop loving because you expect to be abandoned. And you stop living Because your mind has convinced you that danger exists even in the safest moments. This is not weakness. This is what happens when the mind is forced to face storms alone. Stoicism understood this deeply. People think the Stoics were emotionless statues, but they were human, painfully human, and they wrote constantly because they knew. Unexpressed thoughts become poison. Written thoughts become clarity. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his journals for the world, he wrote them to survive his own mind, to empty the chaos, to transform silent fears into visible words. Because once you can see a thought, you can confront it, and once you confront it, it loses its power. But the truth is, most people don't confront their thoughts because they're afraid of what they'll find. So instead, they distract, they scroll, they numb themselves, they keep busy, they sleep too much or too little, they surround themselves with noise because silence forces confrontation. But silence is not the enemy. Silence is the teacher. The real enemy is the fear of facing yourself. Where negative thoughts are born negative. Thinking doesn't appear out of nowhere. It has four main breeding grounds, and the Stoics identified all of them. The past you haven't made peace with old wounds, create new fears. A betrayal from years ago makes you suspicious today. A rejection from childhood makes you insecure now. A mistake from the past makes you anxious about the future. Stoicism teaches the past cannot harm you unless you live in it. Your mind replays old pain because it thinks repetition will protect you, but all it does is reinforce suffering. The future you keep trying to control you. Don't fear the future. You fear losing control. What if it fails? What if they leave? What if I'm embarrassed? What if I'm not enough? What if? This is the birthplace of anxiety. Stoicism teaches you cannot control outcomes, only actions. And when you finally accept this, fear loosens its grip. The stories you tell yourself, without questioning them, your brain is a storyteller. But the stories it writes during fear are almost always lies. They don't care about me. I'm not capable. No one will choose me. I always ruin things. I'm behind everyone else. None of these are facts. They are emotional interpretations. Stoicism teaches you to ask, is this true, or is this just emotion? Most negative thoughts collapse under this question. The environment that keeps reinforcing negativity, people, places, content, habits. Everything around you shapes the voice inside you. If you're surrounded by chaos, your mind becomes chaotic. If you live in noise, your mind becomes restless. If you interact with negativity, your inner world becomes hostile. Stoicism teaches, protect your inner fortress by guarding your surroundings. You cannot heal in the same environment that is hurting you. The most dangerous form of negative thinking, self-betrayal, this is the one that destroys people quietly. You tell yourself, I'm fine, I don't care, it doesn't bother me, I can handle it alone. But your mind knows you're lying. Stoicism doesn't ask you to deny emotions, it asks you to be honest with them. Because when you lie to yourself, your mind becomes confused. It doesn't know what's real. It doesn't know what to process. It doesn't know where to send the emotion. So it stores it, and it festers. This is how a small wound becomes a lifelong scar. How negative thoughts die in the light. There are 3 Stoic tools that break the cycle. Exposure. Writing it out. A thought written becomes a thought weakened. It loses its emotional power. It becomes something you can analyze instead of drown in. Examination. Questioning the story. What proof do I have? What else could be true? Is this logic or fear? This is how you break emotional illusions. Replacement. Choosing a better response. You don't replace negative thoughts with fake positivity. You replace them with clarity. Even if this is hard, I can handle it. Even if I don't know the outcome, I can control my actions. Even if my mind is loud, it doesn't make it true. This is Stoic power. The truth you must accept to be free. You are not mentally weak. You are mentally overwhelmed. You are not broken. You are burdened. You are not lost. You are drowning in unprocessed thoughts. Negative thinking doesn't mean your mind is against you. It means your mind is trying to protect you, but doing it in the only way it knows. Stoicism teaches you a new way, a calmer way, a wiser way, a stronger way, a way where you no longer fight your mind, but lead it, because the goal isn't to kill negative thoughts completely. That's impossible. The goal is to master them, to shrink them, to disarm them, to understand them so deeply that they no longer have any power over your behavior, your peace, or your identity. This is the silent victory, the victory no one sees, but everyone around you feels. Your posture changes, your voice calms, your decisions strengthen, your presence deepens, your life transforms, not because the world changed, but because you did. There comes a point in every person's life where the chaos inside becomes louder than the noise outside. It doesn't happen suddenly. It builds quietly, silently, invisibly. A small worry you ignore, a fear you pretend doesn't exist, a disappointment you never processed, a self-criticism you repeat every morning, a memory that returns every night. Negative thinking rarely arrives as a storm. It arrives as a whisper. And if you don't answer it, it becomes a scream. This section is about the cycle, the silent, destructive loop that keeps pulling you back into the same emotions, the same thoughts, the same reactions, even when your logical mind knows better. Because negative thinking isn't just thinking. It's a pattern, a repetition, a habit the mind builds to protect you, even when the protection becomes a prison. And here's the harsh truth. What the mind repeats, the mind begins to believe. And what the mind believes, the mind begins to obey. That's why you keep going back to the same fears, the same insecurities, the same old stories. Not because you are weak, but because your mind has practiced this pattern for years. Stoicism teaches that the mind is like a field. Whatever seeds you plant repeatedly will become the landscape of your life. If you plant fear every day, you grow anxiety. If you plant doubt every day, you grow insecurity. If you plant regret every day, you grow self-hatred. But if you plant awareness, if you plant discipline, if you plant calmness, if you plant gratitude, then you grow something entirely different. This is where the cycle breaks. Every negative thought loop follows the same psychological pattern. The Stoics identified it thousands of years ago, and modern neuroscience confirms it today. Trigger. Something awakens the old wound, a message left unseen, a harsh tone, a memory, a mistake, even simple tiredness. The trigger itself is usually harmless, but because your mind has old experiences stored, the trigger touches the wound, and the wound reacts like it's fresh. That's why something tiny can feel enormous. 2. Interpretation. The mind creates meaning instantly. The trigger itself is neutral, but your interpretation turns it into a threat. They don't care. I'm a failure. I ruined everything. I'm falling behind. I'm not enough. This stage is the birthplace of suffering. The Stoics taught, events mean nothing until you give them meaning, and the meaning you create becomes the emotion you feel. Reaction. The emotion drives the outcome. Once the interpretation is believed, the reaction follows. Overthinking, fear, avoidance, anger, self-criticism, shame, panic, withdrawal. And now the cycle completes itself because the reaction creates more triggers, which leads to more interpretations and more reactions. This is the loop. It's not your fault, it's a pattern, and every pattern can be rewired. Stoicism is not about pretending the cycle doesn't exist. It's about becoming conscious of it, because what you are conscious of, you can control. The Stoic method has 3 steps. Pause. Create distance before emotion takes over. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The mind must stand its ground." You don't attack the thought, You don't suppress it, you simply pause. A few seconds of awareness before reacting. That small pause interrupts the automatic loop. Instead of collapsing into the emotion, you step outside of it. You become the observer, not the victim. Question. Challenge the story, not the event, you ask. Is this the truth or just a thought? Is there evidence? What else might this mean? Is this fear from now or from the past? Would I think the same if I wasn't tired? These questions weaken the illusion. Most negative thoughts only survive because you never interrogate them. Stoicism teaches the art of mental cross-examination, not to be positive, but to be accurate. Redirect, replace reaction with response. You don't try to erase the emotion. You simply guide it. Instead of panic, breathing. Instead of self-blame, reflection. Instead of fear, awareness. Instead of overthinking, action. This is how you reclaim control. A Stoic doesn't stop the storm. A Stoic learns how to sail through it. This is the part most people never learn. Your mind isn't fixed, your patterns aren't permanent, your reactions aren't destiny. The Stoics believed the mind is a muscle, and modern psychology proves they were right. If you practice awareness, reflection, discipline, detachment, not gratitude, silence, then your mind slowly reshapes itself. You literally rewire the pathways of thought. The cycle doesn't break in one moment. The cycle breaks through repetition. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you weaken the loop. Every time you question instead of assuming, you weaken the loop. Every time you respond instead of panic, you weaken the loop. And one day, without noticing when it happened, you realize the loop is gone. The thought appears, but it no longer controls you. The fear rises, but it passes without chaos. The emotion comes, but it fades without destruction. This is emotional freedom. This is mental strength. This is Stoicism in its purest form. You are not doomed to repeat the darkness inside your mind. You are not obligated to relive the same fears forever. You are not trapped in your old patterns. You can break the cycle. You can train the mind. You can rise above the noise, not through force, not through denial, not through pretending to be fearless, but through awareness, through clarity, through discipline, through daily practice. You are the thinker, not the thought. You are the observer, not the emotion. You are the author, not the story. You are the master, not the mind. And this is where the cycle ends and your power begins. If you've made it here, if you watched, read, or listened all the way to this final moment, then understand this. You are not the same person who began this journey. Somewhere in the middle of these ideas, something shifted inside you, maybe quietly, maybe violently, but something moved. You confronted your thoughts. You faced your inner storms. You saw the patterns your mind built over years. And for the first time in a long time, you realized that the enemy was never the world outside. It was the noise inside. But here's the miracle. If the battle is inside your mind, then the victory is too. And that means you are never powerless. Not for 1 second, not for one thought, not for one breath. The truth is, life will not suddenly become easy after this video. You will still meet fear. You will still meet doubt. You will still meet anger. You will still meet disappointment. The storms won't stop, but you will face them differently, because now you understand the one principle the Stoics lived and died for. Nothing can break a person who commands their inner world. Not rejection, not failure, not betrayal, not loneliness, not uncertainty, not even loss. Pain may enter your life, but suffering will not control you anymore. Fear may whisper, but it won't decide your actions anymore. Negative thoughts may appear, but they won't dictate your identity anymore, because you learned something most people never learn. You are the observer, not the voice. You are the author, not the story. You are the sky, not the clouds. You now know how to pause, how to question, how to choose, how to redirect, how to rewire, how to rise. That is the birth of a Stoic mind, not a mind that feels nothing, but a mind that is not mastered by anything, a mind that carries storms with grace, a mind that chooses clarity over chaos, mind that sees reality without collapsing into it, mind that stays steady even while shaking. This is the mind you are building, and listen to me carefully. You don't have to do it perfectly, you just have to do it consistently. Your thoughts will slip, your emotions will rise, your old patterns will try to return, but now you know what's happening, and awareness alone is the beginning of liberation. You took a step today, a step many never dare to take, a step into the battlefield of your own mind. Be proud of that, truly, deeply, quietly, because healing doesn't begin with success. Healing begins with awareness, and transformation begins with repetition. Tomorrow, when the negative thoughts return, and they will, you'll answer them differently, with a pause, with a question, with a calm breath, with a clear mind, with the strength you didn't even know you had. And slowly, moment by moment, day by day, your inner world will transform. You will feel it in the way you speak, in the way you breathe, in the way you walk, in the way you treat yourself, in the way your mind becomes a home instead of a battlefield. That is the gift of Stoicism. Not perfection, but power. Not control over life, but control over your response to it. Not the end of storms, but the beginning of inner peace. If this message reached you, if it touched something inside you, if it made you rethink the way you treat your own mind, then don't stop here, like this video, so more people can find it. Comment your final affirmation. My mind is my strongest weapon. Share this with someone who fights silent battles, and subscribe, because we are building mental strength together. One truth at a time. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your focus. Thank you for your courage to look inward. Now go. Not to escape your mind, but to lead it. Not to silence your thoughts, but to master them. Not to avoid the storms, but to become the calm within them. Your new chapter begins now.